Got a few things I need to cover before we actually start our meeting. And so my name is Jim Beckett, and I'm chairman of the committee, and I just wanted to mention these things before we get started. Our joint committee is going to hold these public hearings to receive suggestions and recommendations on how the Mississippi legislature should redistrict itself and its 4 congressional districts. During the course of this hearing, the chair will offer members of the public the opportunity to give their comments to the committee or to give statements to the committee about our upcoming redistricting efforts. By custom, we try to give members of the public a free opportunity to say what they wish. In cases where it appears that there are going to be many persons who are to speak, we do limit their time. As to what limits we impose will be up to me as chair, depending on how many persons want to speak. And so at this time, since we are just a few minutes past 6 o'clock, as chair of this committee, I call the public hearing of the Joint Reapportionment Committee, Joint Congressional Redistricting Committee to order, and ask our counsel if he will call the roll of the members present. And excuse me, before that, because this is being streamed across the state, and I understand that last time some people may have had a hard time identifying the members. If you would raise your hand or identify yourself as your name is called for those who are watching, I would appreciate that.
Representative Beckett.
Here.
Representative Blackman. Representative Brown. Representative Eubanks. Representative Ford.
Here.
Representative Mango. Representative Reed. Representative Shanks. Representative Taylor.
Here.
Representative Watt. From the Senate, Senator Curtin.
Here.
Senator Bryan.
Here.
Senator DeBar. Senator Harkins. Senator Hobson. Senator Parker. Senator Simmons. Senator Tate.
Here.
Senator Turner Ford. Senator Wiggins.
All right, thank you. And I just want to remind everyone that this is not a meeting that requires a quorum. We are simply calling the roll so that we may identify those who were present at the meeting. And I don't think we've had any members that have come in after that was called, so we'll move on. I would additionally would like to recognize any of our members who might be here tonight that aren't on the committee. I believe Representative Thompson, yeah. and is anyone else here that I did not see come in? Thank you, Ricky, for coming. And I don't believe, is there anyone from the college that would care to make any type of statement or anything? I do thank them for allowing us to use their facilities and the arrangements that have been made, and and I want to pay special attention. Thank our staff that's here, both our LBO staff and our peer committee, those who are helping us with the scheduling and videotaping this meeting, so that people who aren't present may be able to watch the meetings, and so that doesn't just happen. Somebody has to do all that work, and these employees of LBO and the peer have done that. And in addition to that, as we go forward, our members from the peer committee, Ted Booth and Ben Collins and Barton, are going to have to do a lot of work and put up with Dean and I and the entire committee. There are a lot of questions, and they're going to have to help us an awful lot as we move forward, especially with the technical assistance that they're going to have to provide us. Not only do they know the law and the requirements as far as redistricting, but there's going to be an awful lot of technology involved, and we appreciate their efforts. At this time, if there's anyone on the committee that would like to make a statement or anything, I'd like to give them an opportunity to say anything.
I will make, if I may, Mr. Chairman. First off, we have several that of the senators that are watching. As an example, like Senator Wiggins, it's a long ways from Pascagoula to here, and so he's watching this when we have, like Senator Turner Ford, who is having other meetings that she's the chairman of, can't be here, and then I've had several senators that aren't on the committee even saying they were watching, and some that are as well, like Senator Simmons. Derek Simmons is watching, Senator Parker, Hobson, and Harkins, and Senator Barr has been ill. So that's, I want to let you know, it's just a long ways for some of them. The others had other committee meetings in which they had to attend, but they're all trying to watch, and plus even Senator Frazier has made a comment that he's going to watch each and every one of these. And most importantly is our Lieutenant Governor, who sends his regards and also is deeply involved in this, as you know, and is watching, as he did last night and will all the others. So we're here. My comment really is just to say that we're here for one purpose mainly, and that's to listen to you guys and for you to tell us anything that we can do to improve on the way that we do reapportionment. So thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who would have a comment they want to make? All right, I thank you for that, Senator Kirby. In preparation for this meeting, the staff has graciously gone back through transcripts of our previous meetings. As you know, every 10 years we do this, and so they went through and kind of looked at some of the concerns and questions that have been asked in the past, and in anticipation that some of those same things will be issues that people wanted to talk about this year. And so I'm going to discuss a few of those right now first, and hopefully that will provide a little information to the public, and it might answer a question that someone had either here or somewhere else. Occasionally we're going to do some things that might seem kind of odd to those here. I may have to repeat some things and do some things, but just remember that not only do we have the people that are here in the room tonight, but we're doing this for many other people that are watching at other locations. So something that might be easier to understand, or an address or something like that you could come and ask me about, I'm going to try to be clear for those who are watching that might get that. But those things that we would definitely want to cover that have been covered in the past, questions like, why do we redistrict? Why do we go through this exercise every 10 years where a great deal of time and effort, both by the members of this committee, but an awful lot of time and effort by staff and those others. People would think, well, just draw a district and we'll leave it alone. But we redistrict because we're required to, both by the federal Constitution requires a one person, one vote requirement, and that causes us to redistrict both our congressional districts and our legislative districts. Every 10 years following the census, we have to do that because our population shifts around the state. Additionally, Section 254 of our Constitution of 1890 requires that we redistrict the legislature. So we don't have any choice but to redistrict, and we do that every 10 years after the census. The next question will be, when will that commence? When will we start redistricting? And I want y'all to know that has started now. That started really officially with an organizational meeting that we had back in July, but really started in earnest at our first meeting last night was in Meridian. We had the summer public hearing in Meridian. And this is beginning of the process. We're nowhere near the end of the process. We are just starting the first set of data. It said because of the delays in the census this time, the actual numbers we have, we don't have, and so because of qualifying deadlines next year, it's starting immediately, excuse me. It said, but because of qualifying deadlines next year, our efforts at congressional redistricting will come first and will occur during the fall. We don't even have the actual data yet. We just have some preliminary estimates. We'll be receiving the data coming, but our congressional candidates will need to qualify begin at the first of the year. So we'll be attempting to draw their districts first, and that's what we'll be working on first once we get the data. And that will occur in the fall of this year, and then we will be working on our legislative districts the months of the 2022 legislative session, because we won't be running until the following year. So we have a little more time to do those. So because of shifts of populations, we'll face challenges. And you can see that if you look at the maps around the room here, it shows what the population was in 2010 in the counties, and it shows what the estimated population is going to be in 2020. Now, like I say, those are not the official numbers and not precinct by precinct numbers, but they're the latest estimates that we have. You'll see that some counties gain population and other counties lost populations. There'll be some tailoring in some areas when we go and do these public hearings. In some areas, all the counties in that area would have lost population. When we go to do these history in some other areas, like in the coast, DeSoto County, you'll see large increases in population. In this particular area here, you have both counties that have gained population and counties that have lost population. Some of them have some fairly decent gains and some losses, but each one of those presents challenges. In places, like I said, in places like Natchez, Meridian, we lost population, and that's one set of problems. But each of these population shifts creates challenges for us. The exhibits will also tell the ideal size for a House district. The ideal size for a House district is 24,273 people, and that can be, you can plus or minus 5,000 people. So it'll range from 23,000, a little over 23,000 to about 25,500. The Senate ideal size is 56,948 with the same type of deviation. So they're going to range from around 54,000 to almost 60,000. So there is a little room in the House and Senate districts for some deviation, but that's basically the same size as 2010, just a little bit smaller deviation, but our population is so close, there's not much of a change. But whether your population is up in your area or down in your area, both will create a challenge. Why are we presenting census estimates at this meeting? And that's simply because of the delays in producing the census data. The actual numbers we use in the redistricting are not available yet. The first set of data will be available in mid-August, with the final official delivery occurring at the close of September. The census estimates give us a good indication of where our challenges are and have been used in the past hearings to assist the public in understanding the issues facing your redistricting. So you can look and tell whether your area of the state is growing or not. We're going to have the same number of House members, the same number of senators, and so you got to adjust their size basically. How many members of the public participate in the process, and there are several ways that members of the public can participate in this process by discussing your concerns at this hearing. We are here to hear your concerns. This evening we will listen to any matter that you wish to bring to our attention about how and where we will draw congressional and legislative districts. We can let members of the public know they must sign a card. So in order to speak, you need to sign a card and sign it, and they'll give it to me and let me let me know so I can call on you. You can submit any suggestions to the committee in writing or by email by taking advantage of the opportunities to use the committee's public access computer terminals, which we'll have available in Jackson. In a hearing, you might ask what kinds of concerns does the committee need to hear from the public, and I can just tell you that basically we're here to hear what's on your mind. That's just the simplest answer. In the past, we've heard things about Voting Rights Act concerns, splitting of precincts, splitting of municipalities, districts that are just odd shaped. In short, we've heard just about anything as members that you're probably going to mention. Has been a concern that's been mentioned to us. Just want to remind you that the rules of the House govern joint committee meetings. So we will handle such matters as the House would handle them. And how can members of the public contact the committee to provide information or to book time on the public access computer? So members of the public should be advised to send U.S. mail to Ted Booth, Staff Council, Joint Reapportionment Committee, P.O. Box 1204, Jackson, Mississippi 39215-1204, or you can send an email to ted.booth@peer.ms.gov. That's ted.booth@peer.ms.gov. And so, please provide information for staff to follow up, such as email address and telephone numbers, because in order for us to get back with you, we're going to need that. In public access for our congressional redistricting will commence following the delivery of the final PL 94-171 data, which should arrive at the close of September. The public access for time will last for 3 weeks from the receipt of that information. For the legislative districts, it will occur after January 1, 2020 and last for 3 weeks. And one thing I want to mention I said we have a tolerance for our Mississippi legislative districts. Basically, we have a zero tolerance for our 4 congressional districts. And I want to mention that they're different from us. You're going to see counties split, or you may see precincts split. You're going to see that, and it's because we won't have any choice, because the law requires there not be any type of tolerance on that. And that's all I had before I think Senator McMahon came in, didn't he?
He did.
I want to recognize Senator. We're proud to have you. And is there? Yeah, and Peer is spelled P-E-E-R. If anyone is concerned about that, I know that sometimes we live in a world of acronyms, and they're and you can get confused sometimes about who you're talking with. And that's what I have. Is there anyone on the committee that would have anything else they want to add before we open this up to the public?
I would just like to say there were handouts when you walked in, and good summary, everything that he just said right there on the back of it. So if you didn't get a phone number or P.O. box or anything, they're all on the back of those handouts.
All right. Thank you, Senator Tate. All right. Just one more time, I want to let you know that if you would like to ask a question, if you'll let the staff know, they would be happy to hand you a card so that you can turn that in. And once again, we ask that if you didn't sign in when you came in, to please do that, because we would like to have a record of everyone that's here. And if there's not anything else, I'm just going to call on the first person. All right. Mr. Charles Moore. Yes, if you would go to the podium, please, so they can get you on camera.
Thank you. My name is Charles Moore. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you guys for all your hard work that you do in governing our great state of Mississippi. But we know that there's always work to be done, and doing it in a way that it benefits all of us and the entire state, permits growth and unity, health, and all those other things that we need here in Mississippi. And it's up on the hands of you guys just as well as on us as the constituents and also us plain people. But I'd like to read this to you here. You have a copy there as well. Civic Engagement Roundtable, Tupelo Statement to Mississippi Joint Legislative Redistricting Committee from Mississippi Civic Engagement Roundtable, Mississippi State Conference NAACP, One Voice, NAACP Lee County Branch. Political appointment concerns in Lee County, Alcorn, Chickasaw, Clay, Lowndes, Monroe, and Prentiss counties. The process of redistricting is a critical component of a citizen's political rights to have a say in who represents them at local, state, and federal levels. Although the process of drawing maps is a very technical skill that very few can master, everyone has a right to express how these boundaries affect their lives. Voter suppression continues to be a major issue in Mississippi. Barriers to voting, as well as the lack of political representation, are avenues to the disenfranchisement of citizens. My organization, along with the Mississippi Civic Engagement Roundtable, have documented years of voter suppression tactics that have led to considerable amount of mistrust in voting systems. Mississippi remains at the bottom of the nation for the lack of access that it provides to citizens for voting. Antiquated systems such as the lack of online voter registration, lack of early voting programs, and an absentee voting system that requires notarization of the application and ballot. The COVID-19 pandemic made these issues even worse. Many states implemented ballot drop programs and other efforts to ensure the safety of both voters and election officials. Mississippi could have used this urgent health crisis to raise the occasion and put the health of its citizens first, but we did not. Instead, we passed legislation allowing individuals who contracted the virus or were caregivers to use this as an excuse to vote by absentee ballot. This caused more confusion for citizens and election workers who then had to put their own health at risk to provide ballots for individuals with the virus. This is voter suppression. Incidents like these continue to display themselves in various forms that make it more difficult for people to vote. Among the top of the list of those concerns are voter purging, confusion regarding polling places, and the lack of adequate election equipment. Citizens of Lee County continue to witness these incidents of voter suppression. During every election cycle, citizens are purged off of voter rolls, denied ballots when presenting the proper ID, and sent to different voting precincts. We deserve a fair voting process that's handled with integrity. The development of fair political boundaries at the local, state, and federal level can help us to improve our election process by developing districts that keep our communities together and are transparent. Thank you for your consideration. I would also like to add that in making these decisions, I would encourage each and every official, elected official, and by the way, should I say paid elected official. This government is for the people, by the people, and of the people. I pray that we'll not make it based on partisanship, based on our friends or our buddies, or based on our financial status, but based on how we want Mississippi to grow. God bless you and thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next, Mr. Charles Pinson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To our honorable state senators and representatives and all my fellow citizens here in this great state of Mississippi. My name is Charles Pinson, and I'm here as a citizen of Lee County. And I would like to share just a little historical significance for the record, in that we are proud that a minority has been elected in this area. Never in the history of the state of Mississippi has this area had a state elected official of minority status. It's been a struggle. The last time I can recollect a statewide minority being elected to office was Hiram Rebels during Reconstruction. So we have a long way to go. Although we have a large percentage of population that are minorities, it's, I was looking over the census data, even here in Lee County, we have almost 35% minorities. And keep in mind, Lee County is one of those counties that experience some growth. Minute, I will agree, but we did experience some growth. And in Mississippi, we've had a problem of people leaving our state as opposed to coming to our state. And one of the things is because of our reputation. I would encourage the State Legislative Redistricting Committee in your deliberations this time to uphold the one man, one vote rule. It's been a struggle, and I was a part of that struggle in gaining representation for the minority communities right here in Lee County, having to take part in a suit, actually, against one of our government entities because of the dilution of minority voting strength. Some of you may recall we had in our city of Tupelo 10 elected officials, and of that 10, only one was a minority, and we had over 20% of the population at that time. We ended up having to go to court, and the result was, some of you lawyers may remember the Jingle case. Well, that came out about 6 months before our case, and the federal judge ruled in our favor that we had 3 citywide elected officials and 7 ward council people. And because of the makeup of government, minorities had a difficult time in electing the candidate of their choice. And the ruling was that we would eliminate the 2 at-large council people, and of the 7 remaining wards that we would redistrict and create a second minority majority district. I hope that we don't have to go through that kind of a process in the state of Mississippi ever again to protect the voting rights of minority citizens. And I would implore you to hold uppermost in your mind, one man or woman, one vote. God bless you.
Thank you very much. All right. Amanda Hughes. Okay. All right. Teresa Roberts.
Good evening to each of you. First, I want to say thank you for taking the time to be here to listen to our requests and let them be known. I've heard both my professional colleagues, President of the NAACP, Mr. Moore, and Mr. Charles Pinson, who's chairperson of the Get Out the Vote Coalition. So I won't repeat anything, hopefully, that they said. So the trajectory of my plea is going to be a little different. When I look at this sheet right here, I see more negative than gains. Over 3/4, just about, I counted them. They're negative. And why is that? Why are people leaving? Where are they going? Why? Reputation. Mississippi has a reputation that it's not tasteful because of unjust treatment. We can't get people to come to Mississippi if we keep reputations that it's not tasteful. Now, it says on this piece of paper that the Mississippi state legislation and the governor decide the boundaries of the district maps. I'm asking that you search your heart when you decide on the boundaries. Don't let it be for personal gains. Don't let it be for partisanship. Do what's right. Because the old people that I used to listen to, they said when you dig ditches, dig two. Because you're going to fall. Now, Mississippi, we have been falling. We're not doing right. Every person deserves a right to have voting rights and to do them equally without problems or harassment or whatever the case may be to prevent them from voting. Everybody should have the right to vote. It's a constitutional right. So please, I'm asking you, consider what you do. Think about it. I like to sleep at night, and I like to sleep in peace. You ought to want to do the same thing in peace. So people, please, our plea is just do what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anyone else that's turned in the card saying they would like to make a comment. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Okay.
You know, I've been thinking about this 6,000 people in 10 years is 600 a year. I said that's 200 families a year. But for the whole state, 200 families is
I'm sorry, what's your last name? Jones. All right, Ms. Jones, please.
Good afternoon. To the Mississippi Joint League Legislative Redistricting Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address this joint legislative redistricting committee. As a first-time councilwoman, I have been excited to learn the political process here in Lee County. It has taken a long time for the poor, the black, and the brown citizens to create communities of interest that truly represent our needs. We want to ensure that the political boundaries in the district are fair, transparent, and keep our communities together. We are all anticipating the release of the census data soon. Although it is uncertain what the final numbers will be, we know that collecting census data during the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic was extremely challenging. It is our sincere hope that any population shifts that occur will not result in the loss of representation. Although the redistricting process is a very technical process, usually handled by elected officials with attorneys and demographers. It's always important to remember that within these maps are communities, and within these communities are people. I am committed to working with our redistricting committee as well as the people that I represent through this process to make sure that our maps are truly represented of our community. Today marks the 56th anniversary of the passage of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. The Voting Rights Act was a tool to challenge discriminatory voting practices like racial mandating, strict voters' ID laws, voter purges, and other attempts to prevent black voters from accessing the ballot. We want to continue to move forward and not go back. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Marilyn Young.
Good afternoon. To our legislative committee, thank you all so kindly for allowing us an opportunity to speak. I have been part of the redistricting process for over the last 20 years, and this was the first time that we've noticed that the hearings were held before the census data is being released. Can you share with us why was the hearings held before the data is being released?
Well, one thing, we could not wait any longer to have our hearings, but the other thing is we have the county data, and we can tell what parts of the state, the citizens can tell whether the area has gained or lost population. We wouldn't have the exact districts up because the districts hadn't been drawn anyway. So even if we were showing the precinct data, we wouldn't have the districts anyway. But the census data was delayed this time. I guess some because of COVID. Primarily, it was delayed 2 or 3 different times. If we had gotten it in April when we were initially supposed to get it, then we would have had the data now. But it's primarily because of the delay in the receipt of the data.
Once the data is released, will there be other public hearings after the data is released?
Well, there will be some public hearings after this data is released. There will be some data released next week. We will have some precinct data, and I think there are like 5 scheduled after that. There are some scheduled after that day.
You're going to do them after the 15th of August or September the 30th when all
there are
data
going to be
is
some
released?
done after the 12th of August is when we're actually hoping that we will receive that data. There'll be some done after that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other comments? All right, Ms. Gill.
First of all, I'll say good evening to you all. I'm a newly elected official for Lee County area as well. I noted that you all put much emphasis on the fact that you would use data based from the Census Bureau. as an employee of the Census Bureau this past year, the numbers are not accurate. I mean, we were assigned to go door to door, but because of COVID, we did not go door to door. We made phone calls. At the end of the day, I say my data for Census Bureau is not going to be tolerant. Find another way, because the numbers are not going to be justifiable. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Pinson, did you want to speak again? Well, we might or might not be able to answer the question.
Okay. Is the redistricting committee going to use an outside consultant to help in drawing of the map?
Yes.
Yes. Can you give us that name?
Haven't been
Haven't been identified yet?
yet.
But you've accepted proposals already?
No.
No proposals have been accepted? Okay. Will you do one for the whole state, or will you divide it up? I don't know.
One for the
One
state.
for the state, okay. Right. And we'll hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that will be public.
Thank you.
First, who's to speak again?
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Yeah, I've got it. I'm good. All right, I was just making sure I had a card.
I know we're redistricting every 10 years. We come back here every 10 years. But I would like the lines to be considered. We know there's gerrymandering, things that are happening as far as in our communities that's shifting, and some people are leaving the state. We understand this, and moving other places to start their lives or to try to do better. But those that are in the state, in our local municipalities, there are things that are happening that we all are privy to. We know this. There's some bad apples. We're actually moving them to certain areas, and that's hurting our numbers when we come back to redistricting. But in doing so, I don't think we're giving our state a fair chance at recovery and rebuilding. Because when we put all of those people that are disenfranchised in one area, and then crime rises in those areas, and more people begin to move from these areas, and many of them have left Mississippi because of it. They said things won't change. So I'm asking you to reconsider this, and as the NAACP president here in Lee County, and as an activist for years, before I was even an NAACP member, I've always wanted to be the change that my nation or my community needs to see. I've always tried to be that change. And right now we reach out to people, and we're doing things in our community because we understand that the legislature can't do everything, but your ruling and your redistricting has a lot to do with it. From our schools to our economic base to the status in which we live, you guys affect that. For those on the other side of the track to those on this side of the track, you guys and your rulings and your legislative affect this. It happens. And so we know that we have certain millionaires that's in here, and that there's in the ears of people and encouraging certain things for production. But remember, if we only have a few in our state, we're not going to grow very fast. We've got to do something different in how we redistrict and why we redistrict, in ways to even get those bad apples, because if that's the weakest link in our community, it'll continue to destroy us. I hope you guys take that in consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? Has everyone had a chance to speak? All right. Does any member of the committee have anything else they would like to say? All right. I want to once again thank our host for providing a space for us this evening. I want to thank the public for your attendance and for your comments, your interest in your community, and your interest in redistricting. I I want to thank the staff for all the work they did to get this meeting ready and to make it available to those who could not be here by live streaming it. And I want to remind the public that we are just beginning this process, and that you can provide us with your comments, suggestions, or proposed plans by mailing them once again to Ted Booth, Staff Council, Joint Reapportionment Committee, P.O. Box 1204, Jackson, Mississippi 39215-1204, or send an email to ted.booth@peer.ms.gov. And just thank you all for your attendance. Thank you for being here. And if there's nothing further from the committee, this meeting is adjourned.